Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Bourbon and Boxing. I am your host, Jeff Bolts. This is episode 9. I want to call this episode Technical Difficulties. I was going to call Cowboy for one of my favorite fighters, but I've had a lot of difficulties getting this episode going for some reason. I erased it, well, not for some reason, obvious reasons. I erased it one time, had to re record, didn't like the re recording that I did. Uh, and then my uploading didn't upload a video that I needed, said something wrong with the file. So all kinds of difficulties on my part. And then on ESPN Plus's part, we're not seeing the undercard right now. Some kind of technical issues on their part. So what better name for this episode 9 than technical difficulties, man? My editor's not working. My computer's acting up. And this is a big fight for me. I am a huge Emmanuel Navarrete fan, and I am a huge Oscar Valdez fan. These two guys fighting each other. I've been excited since all the way back in the announcement in June that these guys were going to meet up in the ring after Valdez's last fight. So I've really been looking forward to August, even though we've had an incredible month of July boxing, June boxing, May, April, all these months. Just a great first part of the year for boxing. And now we're headed into August, continuing down that same route. I'm also going to give you my reaction on the AJ versus Robert Helenius fight, the undercard on that fight and everything. And then I want to break down this Oscar Valdez fight and tell you what I think it's going to take for each one of these guys to win this fight and how their styles kind of conflict with each other. So let's see who can get the first strike in this fight. But I'm going to break that down for you, everything like that. I also want to give a shout out to the show's first sponsor. Brown Family Construction has decided to sponsor the show. That's awesome, man. I really appreciate you guys. So anybody looking for some construction work, hit up Brown Family Construction in the Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky area. I'll put that information up for you guys to see either around the beginning or the end of the show, man. So you guys, if you got any needs, hit them up. Jason Brown is very professional. Great company to work with, guys. Hit them up. Thank you guys for sponsoring me and having some, and believing in my show. That's awesome, man. It means a lot to me. But like I said, let's get into it. What is this show called? Bourbon and Boxing, and it's not Bourbon and Boxing without a shot. Now, like I said, I've had to re-record this show quite a bit. So the bottle of bourbon that I bought 3 days ago, and 4 recordings later, this being the 4th recording, I went through the bottle a little bit. But there's still enough left for me to do the show. I made sure this bourbon is called House Tango, or Hotel Tango is what it's called. It's a bourbon, American straight bourbon. It's pretty good. I like it. The price isn't bad on it. And about $40. Not too bad, not too high price, not too cheap, but just about right, man. I like it. Let's get this show started, and the only way to do that is to get us a shot of bourbon and get to talking some boxing, guys. Watching the Showtime undercard right now because my ESPN Plus and Hulu is having some issues, and it looks like Marshall is getting meleeed by, the guy's name is Maestro. What do you know about that? He's putting on an orchestra. Ooh, a clinic just knocked him out. That fight is over with. But like I said, I got to watch the fights over in the UK earlier. Got off work around 3 o'clock. Decided to catch those fights. Always love the fights over in the UK. It gives us all-day boxing. And there's nothing better than all-day boxing. Been a long day for me. I'm almost ready to take another shot right now, but I'm going to contain myself. All right, let's jump into my reaction to the AJ versus Robert Helenius fight. AJ got a big knockout and a win today, a much-needed knockout for him. He hasn't knocked anybody out in a while. I think that's going to help him get some confidence back. You kind of seen towards the end of the fight. He did him a little dance. He ran around, gave everybody high fives. He was super pumped about it. I think it's going to do a lot for his confidence going into a Deontay Wilder fight that we all desperately want to see. We want to see that fight. I don't care what you think of AJ at this point. If you think he's not going to be up to that fight, I still want to see it. I think it's going to be a great fight. Uh, Wilder is super dangerous, very dangerous fight, but they're both going to get paid because Saudi Arabia is the one. They were there watching Joshua tonight. They're going to want to promote that fight, and they're going to pay both of these guys pretty big. It's probably be the biggest payday of both of their careers, and I'm definitely going to tune in for it. But that's what this fight is leading up to. Got him in there. Helenius, a good veteran, 39 years old. He just fought the week before, so he came off training camp. He had fresh legs. He was ready to go. Not a bad choice to bring in, even though initially I didn't like the choice of them bringing Helenius in. But then the more I thought about it, I thought, well, this guy's fresh out of training camp, fresh out of a fight. So he's kind of ready to go. I didn't know how it got sanctioned for him to fight a week later, but I guess in boxing you can fight as soon as you want to. It's up to you as long as you're physically able to do it. Uh, Now Helenius looked. You could tell he had fresh legs. It was a pretty decent fight, but like I said, AJ got the big knockout in the later rounds of the fight. Uh, a lot of people were saying they were worried about it going into the later rounds, what that meant for AJ. AJ pretty much saying, hey, this is when I'm in the ring, just let me do my thing. It doesn't matter if it goes 10, 11, 12 rounds or whatever. It's what I need to do to get better. He is turning into a mature fighter. You've seen a lot of that tonight. He did get his nose busted up a little bit. He was bleeding. Helenius was landing a nice little jab on him, keeping that distance, that reach, that length that he had to his advantage. But overall, Joshua put a nice little knockout on him. Much needed for him to booster his career a little bit more, get that confidence back that I feel he lost after those Usyk losses. He really lost that confidence part of him. You see it in a lot of fights. You kind of see it in his eyes, man. He's a weird guy, and I don't mean that in a bad way, in any way to offend him, in any way like that, down in the guy. But he just seems like he goes through a lot of up and downs, maybe some bipolar depression. You can kind of see it in his eyes a little bit. But when he's on his game, he's tough. You know what I mean? And he really wants to get back to the top. You can tell. I don't know if he'll ever do it, man. I don't know. We'll see. You know, going up against a guy like Deontay Wilder is going to be one or two things. He's either going to win that fight and get his name back up there with Fury and Usyk, or he's going to lose that fight, and it's going to derail his career even more to where it'll just push him back a little bit further, and he's no longer going to be that big name that people are going to want to see. But I think that fight definitely has to happen. We want to see it. Looks like it's going to happen probably sometime next year. Big fight in Saudi Arabia. But not a bad showing by AJ. He looked very patient, waited for that big punch, didn't try to force it. Looked pretty good tonight against a veteran fighter like Helenius. The undercard on that, Chisora beat Washington. Not a great fight. I fell asleep during it. It was kind of a snoozer. Chisora's older, not looking that great. He advertises that big heavy punch, just ridiculous. But then there was another heavyweight fight on there. It was all right. I want to say, three of the cards on that fight by the time I got home, settled in, all that fun stuff. But then right now, I almost forgot about this fight that's going on at Showtime. I'm trying to remember this guy's name right now, man. Let's get this guy's name. The fight for this one. The undercard seems pretty good. And until ESPN Plus can fix their issue, I'm going to have to stick with Showtime right now because I got to have my boxing on. So I don't know if you guys hear that in the background, the undercard. I like to hear it a little bit. I try not to let it interfere too much with the microphone, all that kind of stuff. But if you see me looking up, I'm not losing focus. I'm just kind of looking up to check on the fights here and see what's going on. And then every now and then I'm going to check back to try to get that ESPN Plus back up, hopefully very, very soon. I do not want to miss that main card. But this one is Emmanuel Rodriguez versus Melvin Lopez on Showtime. This fight definitely got overshadowed for me by the Navarrete fight and the Anthony Joshua fight. So sorry about that to Emmanuel Rodriguez and Melvin Lopez. I almost forgot to give you guys a shout out. Not much I'm going to break down about that fight, to be honest with you. But that fight is going on. We'll talk about the results next week. Either way, I'm going to go back and watch it or end up watching it if I can't get my other fight working. But like I said, man, we're going to break down for you guys my favorite fight of the week. Emmanuel Navarrete, he is one of my favorite fighters. Been watching him for a while, following his career. Really like this guy. He is a different style of fighter. And what he brings to the table is a very weird, unorthodox style of boxing. He throws looping punches that you shouldn't throw, that you would not want your fighter to throw, but he throws them in a way that they work for him very well. They're very hard to time, and he's very fast when he throws them, and his distance, and I think his length with his arms, he's got really long arms. He's got a really long reach on him. I call it Patrick Ewing arms. Those long, long arms, man. If you're a sports fan, you understand that reference there to how I explain how his arms are. Very long strength. He's not as tall as he looks. He looks taller than what he is. But I think for him, man, he's a very unorthodox guy, like I said. So he's gonna time. He's not gonna come at you. He's gonna keep his distance and make you kind of bring the fight to him. He's very patient. He has a really good ring IQ. He knows what he's looking for, what he wants to land. I kind of call it, he'll trap you, kind of like a Crawford, all that kind of stuff. He's going to trap you in there, try to get you to come inside so he can land those big uppercuts on you. He loves to throw a looping uppercut, man. Very weird punch. He's a push and pull guy. Literally, he's going to push in, pull out, boom, 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 boom. Very fast, like come over the top after he does that. So, I mean, I love his style, and his defense is pretty good, but he's going to have to watch out for Valdez. He's a dog. He likes to come inside. He's very quick. His combos are very good. He's got great footwork. So he's going to have to watch out for for Valdez to start getting his timing down. Don't be too repetitive if you're Emmanuel Navarrete. Don't be obvious on when you're going to throw those big looping punches. And try to do pretty much what he does every fight. I can't tell the guy knows what he needs to do. He's going to go out there and throw the fight the way he does. And for me, for Valdez, I think Valdez, to break down his part of it, I think he really needs to the step back defense. Stepping back, throwing that punch, setting up the timing for those big looping punches that Navarrete is going to throw, and then try to counter him on those. Once you get that timing down, and then I also think Navarrete's kryptonite's going to be longevity. He doesn't have great stamina, conditioning. He seems to wear down when he gets into the later rounds. So if you're Oscar Valdez, you maybe get on your bike and you ride a few rounds out, and you force this guy to run you down, whatever. Throw big looping punches. If he's missing, that's taking stamina away from him. Try to take him out to the deep water, and then use that counter and that timing and that patience to your advantage, and then attack when you start to see him wear down a little bit. And then I think fighting on the outside is Valdez's best chance. Like I said, timing, finding this guy's rhythm. Once he does, and then he's gonna throw those looping punches. Navarrete always does. It's just trying to figure out how to time them and then stop him when he does, because they're very powerful punches. They're very accurate punches. They don't look like they're gonna be. They look very weird from where they come from. He just launches them out there, but with his arm length, it gives him a little bit of an upper hand on other fighters because they think they can get out of the way of them. When they try to get out of the way, that's when they get hit the most with it. That's when he connects flush. So if you're Valdez, you have to avoid those. You're not going to take, even if you take one or two, you really don't want to take any more than that. And if you can survive taking those big looping punches more than one or two times, and my hat off to you. You got to avoid those punches. keep the fight at a distance, take him out to deep water, take it to 8, 9 rounds, 10 rounds, where he's going to wear down, lose stamina, and then it's going to give you the opportunity to take over in that fight and do what you do. Get inside and just bulldog this guy to death with your combos, with your speed, and beat him down in the body to take the head. And I think that's his best chance. Valdez's best chance to win is to be patient and take this guy to deep water. Test Emmanuel Navarrete's conditioning. It's always a big question for him. Has been an issue in the past for him. So let's see if he's conditioned correctly to be ready for this fight. We're going to find out tonight, man, because Oscar Valdez is a former champion, man. His only loss is to Shakur Stevenson, who is just an amazing fighter. And I love seeing a guy like Emmanuel Navarrete but Oscar Valdez not taking that loss so hard that he hasn't rebounded from it. He went right back into the ring after losing to Shakur and got him a good win in his last fight back in June. And then now he's going to jump right back in the ring against another champion in Emmanuel Navarrete to try to regain himself another championship belt to prove that he is still a champion. I think he's going to be on a mission tonight, and it's going to be hard to bet against Oscar Valdez. But I like Emmanuel Navarrete so much, and the way he fights is really different. I think Oscar's going to be his biggest challenge to date. So we're going to really see what this guy's made of, in my opinion. Emmanuel Navarrete, like I said, I've been following him for a while. I think he has what it takes. I'd love to see him win this fight and then move up to the lightweight division, add in another monster to that division, in my opinion, and then try to set it. I've been wanting a Shakur versus Navarrete fight for a while. Uh, so let's see. I favor Never. I want Emmanuel Navarrete to win. I like both of these guys so much. So if Oscar Valdez comes out with a win, he absolutely deserves it. Great to see him be a champion again. He's great for boxing when he's winning, when he's a champion. Uh, he says all the right things. All that kind of. It seems like a good young dude. So yeah, definitely wouldn't mind if he wins. Not disappointed, but I'm gonna be rooting for Emmanuel Navarrete. He is one of my current favorite fighters right now. Really like him a lot. Oscar, also one of my favorite fighters at the moment. But if I had to pick, I'm going with Navarrete. I think it's going to be a tough fight, but I think it's going to be really hard for Valdez to stay away from those big looping punches and the length of, for the reach difference might end up coming into play to favor Navarrete a little bit on that, man. Also, man, I want to get into. Let's move on from that fight. It's got a pretty good undercard on that, not bad at all. You got the Richard Torres Jr. Is going to be fighting in the heavyweight spot. Who's the other two? There's another big fight on there. Lindolf and Valterra. Those two guys at the welterweight division. Lindolf is undefeated at 17-0, so that's going to be a good fight on the undercard. So if I haven't missed those fights already, but like I said, over here watching this fight on the zone on the Showtime card, got some boxing in the UK earlier, so I can't be too disappointed, man. Let's jump into some news. Looks like Clarissa Shields has signed with PFL. Makes sense with her MMA background. Good for her, man. Great signing for PFL. Then we also got the news that Canelo's not only going to fight the one Charlo brother, he's going to fight both Charlo brothers. It looks like it could be a back-to-back thing, which I find weird because nobody knows the exact timetable when Jamal will be back to fight. But that's what they're saying. Canelo's announced he's going to fight both of these guys. So great for the Charlo brothers to both get the opportunity to fight Canelo. Then you also had news that David Benavidez and Demetrius Andrade have signed on to fight sometime in October, I think, is when it was announced, and they're finalizing that deal now to get those two guys in the ring together. An opportunity for Demetrius Andrade to finally have the fight he's been calling for, and let's see if he's all mouth or if he can actually do something in the ring to impress people, man. He talks a lot. I've never been super impressed with him in the ring. Demetrius Boo Boo Andrew, as they call him. He has been chasing Canelo for a while. That fight hasn't come about, so I guess he figures if he goes and beats David Benavidez, then Canelo really has no choice but to fight him. With the way it looks, though, Canelo's going to choose who he wants to fight, and I'm starting to think that he's going to completely duck David Benavidez 100%. And people get mad when I say he's ducking him. I just maybe he doesn't want that fight because, like they say, he when you chirp more at him and you're running him down for a fight, he's less likely to give you a fight for some reason. Like if you're trying to like if David Benavidez was supposed to be sitting back and not calling him out, then he might want to fight him. I don't know the truth of that. I don't know what goes through any guy's mind or what they're personally thinking. I don't think Canelo personally ducks anybody, but I just think he's going to avoid that Benavidez fight unless the numbers come about. If Benavidez goes in and beats Demetrius Andrade pretty handedly, then people might call for that Canelo fight. But I think to really grab the attention of the world, fighting a David Morale would have been a better matchup for him. Uh, Very dangerous fight, a more dangerous fight for David Benavidez. So maybe he didn't want to take that risk, saying, "Hey, if I lose, then that Canelo fight is completely out the window. It will not happen." I get he doesn't want to stay stagnated. He does not want to fight, and then hope he gets that Canelo fight, and he wants to get in there, and so he doesn't get ring rust and just kind of get himself prepared for that fight. So you go up against a guy like Demetrius Andrade. It's not a cab driver by any means. Demetrius Andrade's a really good fighter. So not a bad choice by David Benavidez. A smart choice, very smart for him and his team to go that route instead of the David Morales route, which David Morales is a beast. Really good. Not saying that Benavidez can't beat him, but that is a 50-50 fight, in my opinion, for Benavidez. And if you want to fight Canelo, maybe not the situation you want to put yourself in. But also the fight date for another super fight coming up, in my opinion. Sonny Edwards and Bam Rodriguez have agreed to fight on my birthday, baby, September 16th. That's what I love about it. I get those big fights on my birthday. I love it. I've gotten Canelo Triple G on my birthday, all this other stuff. So it seems I seem to always get some good fights around my birthday time. This fight is going to be awesome, man. I'm going to be drunk as shit, drinking my bourbon, and just loving that fight as much as my wife's going to let me and my kids. You know what I mean? So, but anyways, that's the pretty much most of the news that's going on and out there. The Edwards versus Bam Rodriguez fight. That's gonna be just a banger. Sonny Edwards was on the UK broadcast earlier on the Zone broadcast, talking about Bam has been ducking him, running from him, and now he can't run anymore, and that he's gonna give him a beating of his life. I hope Sonny's ready, man, because Bam's not the guy I think anybody's gonna give a beating to. Uh, He's really, really good. And don't get me wrong, Sonny Edwards is really, really good. So this is going to be a hell of a fight. Another great fight in September for boxing. I mean, August is just a showcase of good fights. You got the Big Baby Anderson getting back in the ring next week. And I'm pretty sure you got the Usyk versus Dubai fight coming up next week, also around August 25th or sometime around there. September, you're going to get Canelo Charlo. You're going to get Bam, Sonny Edwards. And let's see what other fights might be announced by that time. October, it looks like you may get the Benavidez fight versus Demetrius Andrade. November, you're going to get the Katie Taylor versus Chantel Cameron fight, November 25th. So, looks like the year's rounding out pretty good, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be some other fights announced at that time. You're going to have the Regis versus Devin Haney fight. I want to say that's October or November for that one. I mean, boxing is really turning out to have the best year it's had since the 80s by far. One of the strongest years I've seen with the amount of talent that's in boxing right now. It's just an amazing time to be a boxing fan. And even if you're a casual man, get into the sport right now. It's a good time to get in. So much great young talent going on. I mean, undercards are filled with it. We get to watch it almost every weekend right now. So boxing's really at that level, guys, to where, man, I couldn't be prouder of being a boxing fan right now. and just sticking with the sport. A lot of people jump ship when there wasn't the talent and there was only a few guys dominating the sport, and it lacked the talent. A lot of people jumped ship when the heavyweight division kind of went downhill, and I've always stuck with it, always maintained myself as a fan, and I'm going to continue to be a fan. And right now, I'm being rewarded by the boxing gods for my patience with the sport. And now it's starting to get at a really good point. There's, of course, right now, look at this. Gary Russell's on tonight. I haven't seen him in a while. So good to see Gary Russell on an undercard on Showtime right now. Click over there, check that fight out. But like I said, man, I got into the news, wanted to break down that fight. This episode has been nothing but technical difficulties, man. God, I just want to get it uploaded and get it done, man. I'd love for my editor to work, but I don't even know if I want to mess with that because of the time it takes to upload and then getting it onto YouTube. I might just go straight to YouTube with what we have now and let it be, man, because just so much time dedicated into this episode 9. It was almost a jinx episode, and I feel, like I said, then having technical difficulties on ESPN Plus with the fight that I want to see. I feel like Navarrete might be cursed tonight, guys. I hate to say it, but we might call this episode 9 the curse because I feel like everything is not. I wanted a cowboy hat for the show. I couldn't get one. Couldn't find one in time. I wanted to. What was it? Yeah, I wanted my favorite whiskey for the show. A fistful of bourbon. That cowboy theme. I couldn't get that. So, I mean, this episode took me 4 times to get it uploaded. This may not be good news for Navarrete. Maybe cancel the fight, buddy. Let's fight next week when things might go a little bit smoother, man. But hey, man, let's hope we get this fight fixed, bro. Let's get it rolling so I can watch it. I don't want to have to go rewatch it tomorrow, even though I will. But I'm gonna have to stay away from any kind of results, any kind of boxing sites, and at YouTube, all that kind of stuff to try to stay away from whoever did get to see the fight. But like I said, man, thank you guys for joining me once again for another episode of Bourbon and Boxing. I'm your host, Jeff, man. This is episode 9. We're going to start the show with a shot. We're going to end the show with a shot. I wish there was a little bit more for me to talk about. But like I said, it's been a really long week. I wanted to get this episode uploaded. I'm pretty sure I could have went more into detail about some stuff, man. But I decided to skip a few things. We'll get into next week. We'll get into the fight results from undercards to main events. All that will break down, or you'll get my reaction on winners and losers and all that fun stuff that comes with boxing, man. Once again, thank you, Brown Family Construction, for sponsoring the show. And thank you guys for tuning in. And you guys have a great night, man. Let's end this night with a shot, guys.